All right, I want to introduce you to a concept that's going to really help with your upper body training, whether that's to build strength, movement freedom, or even a bit of rehab for the upper body. So what often happens with our training is we get caught on a couple things. The first is cues. Cues that have been given to us at some point by a trainer, from a YouTube video, from Instagram, like pull the shoulders back, or in a push-up, protract the scapulae. Now these cues can have a place, but they don't tell you why. Why am I doing this? What is it providing me? How is this helping my body as a system support itself? And so what some people do is they install the cue without knowing why they're doing it, and then they keep that cue in their mind in all these different situations where the cue is not necessarily appropriate. So your shoulders are back and you're surfing and paddling, but you feel a bit like mechanical. You feel like you're thinking of the cue too much, and you start to inhibit your own movement. You start to get neurotic. Suddenly you're remembering 5, 6, 7, 8 cues instead of just moving organically. When I say moving organically, I mean moving a bit more like an animal, right? So there's no inhibition, there's no second guessing, it's just express, or it's just feel. Express, feel. Very translucent, very open, very receptive, very attuned. The human way of thinking and getting stuck in the head is, oh, I got a shoulder injury, I have to retract it, I have to do external rotations, I have to address the joint, this is where the injury is, this is where I focus. The more supple way is like seeing this whole thing as a line of communication from ground to body, or from pull-up bar to body. So instead of just looking at a shoulder issue or training the shoulders, we're looking at the relationship from extremity or the hand to body. And I want to be able to listen, organize, adapt, and express force through that. I should be able to manage stress and force, and then I should be able to feel and respond and create my own force back in the other direction. So translucent, transmissive, limbs that connect, limbs that can orient in different ways, limbs that aren't just driven by this push-pull, up-down, textbook anatomical way of thinking. This way of viewing movement is going to help you be more curious about your body, and it's going to mean that when you arrive at a particular way of moving, it's because you've found that that way of moving was an appropriate solution to the movement task at hand that worked for your body as it is now, today, okay? We're always working with your body today for the task at hand, and we're looking to develop healthier, more option-giving ways of moving. If I'm in a push-up, what that means is I'm not just gonna think, okay, protract the shoulder blades, squeeze the abs, okay, come down, squeeze them back, push away. It's not mechanical. I'm thinking, okay, here's the ground, I'm feeling the ground, I wanna connect with the ground. The texture of the ground, the solidity of the ground, the feeling of the ground, I'm feeling my hands. And from there, I'm connected with my middle. I can feel both my middle and my hands. I'm feeling both of them. And in between, it's like, okay, what do I have? How can I be elastic and connected? Which directions could I move in to be ready for anything, okay? Me, trunk, spine, breath, center, and hands, extremity. So now when I do a push-up, I'm just focusing on center and hands, connection, okay? And that push-up is gonna go wherever it wants to go. Like I can explore different ranges, little spirally feelings, but I don't have to. I can just do a linear push-up. But the focus is not on me getting stuck in here, okay? What you'll see a lot with beginners in a push-up is like, you're trying to get through it, and then there's this like, oh, yeah. So what's happened is, we're maxing out and locking off one joint, because that joint can't hold itself in reference to the rib cage and the rest of the body. So we're locking off one part and we're just using the triceps or the strong part. You'll also see people who are really strong sometimes in gymnastics movements like, okay, protraction, 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 protraction. Oh, okay. Both of those are locking the joint. The first is locking it mechanically because that person doesn't have the strength. The second is locking it psychologically to not deviate from a form standard which has been arbitrarily created based on aesthetics, okay? Both locking a joint because you have to get through a task, and locking a joint because there's an aesthetic function to making the push-up look nice. Both are okay, but you've got to ask yourself, what am I looking for in my training? Do I just want to get through the reps? Do I just want to look good? Or do I also want to feel super connected to the whole chain that runs through my body so that I have a fluent body, an adaptive body, a body that's strong in different directions? So we go through the push-up in an organic way. We feel the ground, we feel the center, and we can explore different ways of moving. And if I'm here and I'm exploring my edge, then as I explore my edge of strength, I'm noticing, okay, the elbow's taking a lot. This part of the ribs is taking a lot. The hand's disconnecting. I'm gonna reconnect the hand. I'm gonna reconnect with my center and my breath. I'm gonna create some connection through the whole chain. Now, how far can I maintain that connection before coming up? So you're not just thinking, how deep can I go in the push-up? How many reps can I do? You're thinking, how deep can I go with connection? How many reps can I do with connection? And how satisfying is that connective feeling to my training experience, okay? So training connection is a related and very useful but different quality from just training raw output, okay? But training connection is going to open up so many more doors for you as you go surfing, as you go climbing, when you go to Brazilian jiu-jitsu, when you're kickboxing, when you're dancing, when you're doing acrobatics. One such example is, if I'm always training this rigid like shoulders back push-up, that doesn't really tell me what to do if I want to get down on the ground. But if I'm connecting and I start to even explore some circular sort of joint orientations, then I can explore how I can maintain that connection and start to peel and use my body as a series of circles to get down on the floor or to get back up. Okay, so I'm turning it into a study of mapping myself. One example of that is, like, instead of using a straight line to get to the floor, I'm starting to explore not just the stacking of the bones to get the push-up, but the connections that facilitate a further degree of rotation. Another one would be like if you're doing a downward dog and then you're going to come over like this. If I'm just stacking, if I'm just being real linear, then I end up with my elbow like this and I can't really do a lot. But if I explore this from the perspective of this, now I can start to explore that. And the curve, because the connection from hand to body is the focus, not just the movement, the connection maintains itself and I can explore all kinds of different things within the scope of that connection. And even though I started to lose that and fall, I was able to find another connection to come out of it, right? So connections, 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 options, options, options. How can I orient my body in such a way where there is a transition to another good option rather than just having to start or stop what I'm doing?